Okay, so shit, that's fast. It says we're live. My gosh, that's the fastest. 7 seconds
See.
in. Hi, Simon.
Good morning. How you doing?
As usual, if anyone's watching, as usual, Simon and I should have been here half an hour ago, but the pre-show chat, which tends to be a political chat, so that's why it's not on air.
Yes. Yeah. We keep the politics to it. As you know, we've had a general election in the UK. Something for Andrew and I to talk about. Not on air, though.
No, I was just getting getting an update on the results from Simon's perspective, because it's important, I think, internationally for us, as far as England and the European Union. You know, it's not just an English question, Simon. It's a worldwide question. It's a global question.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is a worldwide question, and I think it's interesting. I think that politics is an interesting place. We're in an interesting position. Greta Thunberg is going around the world with her climate change stuff. Making waves and things. So there's lots. Oh, look, Mr. Arvin Gaunt, he's awake. Morning, Arvin. How you doing? Hope you're good.
You got a young guy going around the world eating his KFC. Did you see that on the news? A young guy is at he's in Australia. He's at a vegan demonstration or something like that.
Oh, vegan
demonstration. Anyway, he's standing there, and he must, obviously the boyfriend or somebody or something like that, and he's standing there with a box of KFC, eating this KFC. And obviously, some smart photographer took a photo of it and said, "Hey, what's going on?"
Well, he's been outed for his non-veganism. They always say, don't they, the downfall of the vegetarian is the bacon sandwich.
I love bacon.
Yeah, me too. God. Cripes.
I have KFC too. Do you have KFC in London?
Yeah.
In England?
Bristol. Yeah. Western Supermare. My nearest town. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can't fail to turn up and get a KFC. I mean, we've got them all. We've got McDonald's, KFC, Starbucks. Gosh, he's turning to an advert. We've got them all. Like Burger King. They're all in their towns everywhere.
Okay.
So
yes. We won't talk about food just yet.
Yes, breakfast time. Don't worry, my curry from last night is still keeping me going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I enjoyed last week's show.
Yeah,
that was
Jimi
amazing.
Hendrix,
I spent an hour chatting with Carl at work a couple of days ago. He popped in to say g'day. So he was giving me a debrief on. But what's really interesting, though, talking to Carl, is there's quite a bit of stuff that he didn't mention, obviously, because he can't mention it all. But
no.
Yeah, it's amazing all the stuff that he knows. I'm blown away, actually. So I know we're doing a Stevie Ray Vaughan show tomorrow, so maybe we might want to just ask him to mention some of the things about Jimi Hendrix that he didn't get a chance to talk about.
I see your dog's having a head fit. Let him in. Shut him out.
But no, I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the Jimi Hendrix chat. I picked up a couple of things there that I didn't know. It's interesting, though, getting some feedback from you guys on a couple of things. Spent the week listening to Jimi Hendrix, so I put that on rotation at work, and always listen to the guys that we talk about. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting that the way into somebody via their music is different to reading about them and stuff like that. I think it's a more, in many ways, a more worthwhile. Get hold of their music. See what they did, see what they played, see how they did it. And then you can go into the background of it. But,
yeah.
I'm not saying that know stuff really well. As you can see, had albums and stuff like that. But it's Hendrix. I can remember Hendrix being on top of the pops when I was a kid. doing Purple Haze. 67.
I don't think we can underestimate. We can't underestimate the English connection in Jimi. Yeah, it's just. I think that's the key. The key, Simon.
It certainly made him. I mean, it absolutely. Chas Chandler bringing him to the UK, and getting him to get two guys to play with him, recording, in the UK. His three, the first album at least, and the second one. He moved to record plant for the third one, but that's when he was got to be a star. But I think that thanks, Alvin. That's very kind of you. We try know our stuff. Get an hour, get a couple of hours chat out or something. But
I have to be clear, Alvin. We're just guys having a chat, So we always appreciate the kind words. I don't think Simon, Carl, or I will ever say we're experts, and we're just guys having a chat, Simon.
Arvin, just been around a long time.
Yeah.
And I did things like, as you'll know, I worked in a record shop for 3 years and stuff like that. I've hung around the music scene in Bristol when I was that age, a lot. And you being in a record shop, you kind of immerse yourself in music in a way that possibly you don't because obviously you listen to music all the time, every day. And you put on things, you experiment with stuff. You used to put stuff on in the shop, obviously, all day, like you do, and play. And I think also that I was really lucky in that I've said this before on here, that when I was 14.
Just give me a second, Simon, just please.
Yeah. You've got to deal with the dog. I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking to Arvin. I was 14 in 1972. Just after the when the album took over the single for the first time, being the best selling thing, and I had those amazing British music papers, and they were I can't really underestimate. I mean, don't have music papers like that now, but I was just saying that the music papers, Andrew, that we had in in the early 70s, the NME particularly. Also the Melody Maker and the Sounds, but particularly the NME had these amazing writers who, alongside Cream and Rolling Stone in America, they were sort of pushing it out, making it much more ideological, much more existential. All sorts of philosophy was coming into it, and they spoke and they wrote it wasn't just a factual comment on what it was. It wasn't just a factual review of something, And the second track is a jaunty little number, 3 minutes long, where Paul sings, blah, blah. It's that kind of, which is, that's the sort of 60s version. Whereas the 70s version was about what it meant and also, and if you're 14 in 1972 and you're reading that stuff and it's criticism, literary criticism, musical criticism, and you're getting into the meaning of things, you're getting into the sound, the philosophy behind it, all that. So that affects me deeply because it's that makes it really interesting to me because I feel that there's we all want it to, but I feel like there's some depth to what I'm listening to, some weight to it, And my dad was a composer, was brought up in jazz and classical. That's what I listened to, was on in the house most of the time when I was a kid, And you had to feel like some of that music had the same intellectual weight as, it's a stretch, but Mozart. That's what I wanted. That's what I felt like it. That's what I felt like it had. And and these papers kind of back that up, and put that into words that I couldn't.
What I like about the local scene here when I was growing up, and we mentioned it a couple of times on that show with Richard Fox when Carl was talking to him about a couple of record shops here in Hamilton. What was interesting about the information swapping and the opinions that were being shared were by fans, record lovers, music lovers, united around the record shop. So, and here in Hamilton, we were lucky because we had a guy called Cookie who was like the go-to man and he was like the king networker. He was introducing you to, he was introducing you to say, hey, Andrew, this is Simon. You know, Simon likes the Stones, and oh, okay. So you were spending like a Friday night or a Saturday morning at the record shop, because this is like Arvin, pre-internet. You know, you know, you had the English music magazines, you had Rolling Stone for sure, and you may have had a couple of books in the library. But if you went to the public library and got anything out on the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, half the pages were ripped out because Simon had gone in there on Friday night and didn't have any money
rip them all out,
to photocopy, so he'd rip out. Well, you know, but I think that's just a continuation of what we're doing here. It's just a continuation of, you know, that chat that you would have at the record shop. How many guys would come into you, Simon, when you're working at the record shop and saying, you know, what's selling hot this week? And Simon's saying, oh, Joy Division, there's this new band that's out, and oh, never heard of them. Okay, we'll put it on.
Yeah, put it on and stuff. You'd have it playing in the shop, and always. But Jason Wade, good morning. Jason Wade saying, Jason, can we keep it down? He's trying to play guitar at 1:45 in the morning.
I want to say thank you to Jason. You and I on his channel. He's done his end of season shout out, and he's got you on there, and unfortunately he's got me. So I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Jason. Wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. That's very kind.
And what we're doing shout outs too. I'm wearing this.
Yeah, go on.
I'm wearing this EVH t-shirt in tribute to Dave Nesdall. Who's under the weather. He's a bit crook. So Simon and I were chatting about that before the show. So you've got an update, Simon.
Shout out for Dave, who's apparently he's okay. He's losing a toe. Apparently, he's having a toe taken out and some part of the bone that goes up his foot. So he's going to have a bit of a learning to walk again a bit and stuff. But he seems, you know, he posted yesterday. He seemed cheerful, and you know, something was happening, and you know, he could see some end results. No, he's not going to be home before Christmas. I don't think. No, that's tough, but no, he's not. But you know, let's hope he gets well and this sorts him out, and you know, get him back on the road to recovery.
Yeah, well,
good old Dave, you know, the guitar whisperer. You know.
Yeah,
you know,
hospital's the best place when you're crooked, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. You know, and certainly for the thing I feel sorry for him about is the medical bills that he's cranking up.
Oh, that's right, because they don't have a
national health service in America. Things they don't have, one national health service, and you know, whatever else. I'm grateful on a daily basis that we in the UK have healthcare at the point of contact, free to everyone.
We have that too. We have that. So if you fall down at work or on the side of the road, you can ring an ambulance and they're going to take you to the hospital, Simon.
Yeah,
they won't leave you in the gutter to die.
You.
Have you got insurance? No. Okay. See you later.
I don't know. I don't want to go to this. It's you get into politics land, don't you?
Okay, all right.
I'll just. So I'm just thinking about saying one thing, but my wife's best friend's sister died in America. She died of cancer. She died in America. And like I said, she had medical insurance through her husband and his work, and they took out life insurance on her so that it would pay for her medical bills. Am I allowed to say that feels a bit cynical? A bit.
Simon, what's that clicking? Is there something?
Oh, sorry, it's me with a bloody pen. I'm being annoying with a flaming pen. No, it's me fiddling about because that's what I do. You know,
so
hand waver. Jason,
shout out to.
Indeed, yeah. I'm not a religious man, Jason, but yeah, completely. You know, let's hope that him and Desiree get through it, can get married next year, and crack on. We all want that. Dave's knowledge and his. Don't do that. Do you know what? A friend of mine has flown to Seattle this week. Right, he's marrying a girl who lives in Seattle. We work together. Steve and I are old friends. But I think they're going to stream on the internet because they're getting married on next Saturday, Friday. Yes, the 20th, next Friday. And I've been invited. I'm like, there's no possibility of going, sadly. But I think they're going to they're going to stream it live.
Is he a guitar player?
Everything's streamed. No, he's not a guitar player. Steve, not at all. Shout out to Steve Perriam, who won't see this. But so congratulations to. What have you, Jason? You've got a new Helix LT. Is that the? Is that the floor? Is that the floor? The sort of floor pedal. What's that? The floor unit that you can use. Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm interested in all those things. I never have the time to really. I see other people playing them and feel jealous. Well, because as you know, I've got the sort of predecessor version of the of the Helix.
Okay.
And Guitar Hack as well. Good evening. That means Guitar Hack. Does that mean you've had a gig?
He's having a cigar and a scotch.
He's having a cigar and a scotch. Post-gig guitar and scotch. Yes. Hopefully not in the hack shack.
Oh yes, the one without the scribbles. Yeah. Okay, so that's great, but it's everything else is the same. Yeah.
Without the scribble strips. What's a scribble strip? I'm such an idiot. Sorry, Jason.
It tells you what the effect is that you've got. So
it tells you what the effect.
You got all these buttons, so you program a button, and so it'll tell you it's a flanger.
Right.
But the one that Jason's got, it doesn't have the display of what the pedal is, and I think you have to remember, or it's color coded. Is that correct, Jason? Yeah, it's color coded, and yeah.
Right. There we are. I'm getting a picture up, Jason. I need a picture to sort it out and have a look and see what line 6, 700 quid. Come on. There we are. Oh, okay. Cool.
It's not cheap. I think it's about $2,000 here in New Zealand.
Is it? Blimey, £749 here.
14, 15. Yeah. Okay, maybe 1,800 New Zealand.
Yeah. 800, 600. So I'm just having a look because it's. Yeah, so it's got a little LCD screen at the top, Jason. Is that right? With the sort of the signal path. So it's by the looks of things. Yeah, it looks really cool. Yeah. Is it metal, Jason? Is it? Do you think it would? Do you think it would stand up to a clumsy old fool like me, trampling it around, throwing beer on it, and tripping over it a lot?
Well, if there's one thing I know, Jason's going to get some metal tones out of it.
Oh yeah, he certainly will. Yeah. Oh, I think these days that, I mean, the tones. I think. I kind of would I be too bold in saying yes, it's metal? What, the sounds or the casing? No, the casing. So, Jason, you would say you could take it out to a gig and throw beer on it and trip over it, and it would be fine. I have my benchmark is my old Boss GT3, which weighs about 15 pounds. But actually, is like the. The only thing, if we have a post-apocalypse, there'll be two things that still go, and that will cockroaches in my Boss GT3 and Keith Richards. three things. Yes, Keith, I forgot about Keith. Yeah, he'll still be alive post-apocalypse, wouldn't he? But I mean, I am interested in, in kind of upgrading that because he's going to send a picture. He's going to send you a picture of it on FB Messenger. Oh, cool, awesome. Jason, that'd be cool. Yeah. We could show it. But, so I am, obviously mine's very old and stuff, but as a live gigging instrument, of almost indestructible qualities, and I think that whilst if you sit down in a studio and started messing about, you'd probably do something else. But live, when you're in a mix with other instruments and and stuff going on. Look at that. Bit closer, Ad. That's better. Yeah.
So that's Jason's studio. Wow.
And the expression pedal on the right, Jason. Is that right? Yeah. Yes, that's a cool setup, Jason. That is a cool setup. Indeed.
Wow.
Some nice monitor stuff, yeah. I'm not quite sure how you get your foot on it though, Jason. That's the only thing that's confusing me. It looks a bit uncomfortable.
Jason, that clip that you did on your YouTube channel, was that made with this new Helix?
Made with the new Helix. So I'm really interested in that. I'm interested, that inevitably there's the new Boss GT 1000 that I wouldn't mind getting my hands on, because it's a continuation of what I've already got. So I probably understand it.
That's got good reviews.
Yeah. Well, I think these days that I use the software portion. Yeah, Jason. Does it have an expression pedal, Jason? It looks like it has an expression pedal on the right with two expressions on it, 1 and 2. So you can have like volume and wah or something. Can you more or less set it up to? Yeah, looks a really cool piece of kit. I mean, I think that these days that the sounds you get out of those things are, amazing. They've been doing it for. I mean, okay, sent me a photo. It's going to ruin my. Yeah, look at that, beautiful. Ooh, yeah, it's fantastic. That's looks amazing. I have to check one out. I'd really like to check one out, because I think
tidy.
As I say,
Jason.
Yeah, very tidy. Yeah. I just yeah. I don't know. Is there? Jason, what I can't quite understand is that obviously you've got lots of buttons on it. Do you think they're in a live situation that's easy to use, or do you think if you're a clumsy old fool like me, you might press a few of them? Standing on one leg is difficult for me.
Tap dancing with 2 feet, Simon.
I
got doing the Irish trick.
Well, and I got small feet, and that doesn't help either. I only got size 8 feet, and I'm 6'1". There's a lot of it's a pyramid going on. There's the kind of top-heavy approach, which is not good. So when you're standing on one leg, playing a guitar and sing and trying to hit a button, that's about 3 too many things for me.
And you've had 4 pints during intermission.
Do you know what? Only plumber person. It's a yes. Yeah, fortunately, you'll be pleased. No 4 pints. Okay. Can't play. Don't. I might have 1 pint for an evening, and that's an evening. So I wouldn't drink it all before I have discovered for long, and not only once, but that having 2 or 3 beers and then trying to play.
Yeah.
Really, for me, I'm amazed that people can do it. For me, not a good idea. The brain goes after 3 pints. The brain would go, and I'm not going to play nearly as well as I like to be sober when I play. I'm on it, focused. And having 3 beers is 2.5 too many, sadly.
I was lucky, Simon, because 15 years, the guys I was playing with, we were all hammered. And the people we were playing to were all hammered, so it didn't matter.
No one noticed. Yeah, what did you know? I completely understand that. If everyone's hammered, you're good for it. I just found myself. It's like you find yourself just not able to do it, really, or having a noticeable difference between the quality of what you play when you're sober, even nervous, and actually having, I remember what we did a gig, and I had a couple of pints, and then I was conscious. It was like, this isn't going so well. I play best hammered. I bet you don't drive. That's only if you've got a driver hack. See, most of us, unlike you, who obviously sits in the back of his limousine to be taken home with his cigars. Yes, I have to drive myself home, and obviously can't. 1 beer is about the limit of what you can have here. in terms of drinking and driving. And that's fine. I'm no longer bothered by it at all, in the slightest. My normal.
I've been sober since February the 25th, 2009. So
well done.
What I like playing, it's hilarious, and it's a bit like you, Simon. If you're playing sober, and it's interesting, after 2 hours or 3 hours, it's amazing. You look at people that were like dancing quite like this before, and then all of a sudden the boobs are hanging out, and guys are slapping bums. It's great.
Quite terrifying. Arvin doesn't recommend mushrooms either. What, for playing? No, Arvin. I should have 1 beer per setup to a maximum of 2 beers. You see, what wild and crazy rock and roll dude? You see, he's out there throwing it around. But yes,
Canadian, pretty tough.
Yeah, Canadian. See, up in the cold. Put your beer 10 minutes, it's frozen here, cooled right down.
No, he was talking about on one of his shows. He went somewhere and I think he was in the UK or something, and he went somewhere and he wanted a beer, and he said, please, I want a cold beer. I don't want one of your warm craft beers.
Not that warm brown rubbish. Yes.
Give me a real cold beer. I caught that. That was funny.
Did you get a cold beer? You should do.
I do watch them.
I don't remember that. I watched them as well. But it's yes, the cold beer. You can get cold beer. I mean, get a lager. My roadie usually loads up my gear. I leave in a separate limo. See, I knew it. I knew that hack bloody was a front for his massive rock and roll lifestyle. Yeah, good. Thank God the beer was cold. I mean, you get a lager beer, and that's fine. That'll be cold. I mean, these days you can get all manner. They do super cold Guinness and stuff like that. So you can even get a Guinness hack, but that's not traditional British ale. It's not. But interestingly, if we get into this a bit, the sort of, a beer should be kept in a cellar, which is dark, cool, so in effect, even if you had a brown beer, the traditional keg beer, that actually it's not cold, but it's cool, when you drink it, you get that kind of cool bit in your chest, and yeah, absolutely, it's not sort of warm. It shouldn't be served warm. That's not what, good.
What's interesting in New Zealand, Simons, we had your English style beer for a long time, and it wasn't until the Americans came here during World War II where the brewing companies changed the brewing process and had the cold beer like the Americans. So that took off after the war. So if it wasn't for the Americans, we'd probably be drinking
brown beer. Yeah.
Brown beer.
Which I must say, these days, I'm all for brown beer. But interestingly, we like last night I had a beer with my curry, just one. It's a brown beer. It's a Bath, brewed in Bath near me. It's a local brewery, and yet we still put it in the fridge and cool it down. It's delicious.
Wow.
It doesn't. Yeah. You can put it in the fridge and. And it will cool down nicely, so it's like a cooled beer, so it's cold. Nice. Beer in Canada said at the point you have crystal. Yeah, that's funny, isn't it? Ice crystals, don't go that far. Except you can buy some, in the next village to me is a cider maker called Thatcher's, and they do you can have a pint of Thatcher's and then they push the pump the other way and it produces ice crystals that go into your cider. Stuff.
Thatcher's cider was beautiful. I loved it. We
really?
Did here. It's beautiful. I loved your cider. I loved their English cider. In fact, when I was drinking, that was the stuff that I was drinking for the last 12 months was just all this 8.2%.
10%
English cider.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Hammered, man.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that, that when I was 14, I shouldn't say this live really. When we started going to the pub, we started at the pub when I was 14, 15, and we're the now sadly defunct Royal Oak in Bristol. But what was interesting about it was looking back on it. We'd go out and have 4 or 5 pints or something, and be merry, but not kind of crazy. And what I realised, looking back on it later, is that all that beer was like 3.5% proof. It wasn't.
Really?
It was. Yeah, it was. Oh, it was weedy. It was. Strength didn't come into it at all. It
was just about flavour and sitting there having a chat with your mate.
Yeah, and it wasn't very strong. All those, Courage Best and all that stuff. You realise that over an evening you could drink 10 pints of it. I can drink 10 pints of bloody water now. Never mind 10 pints of it. But you could drink over an evening. You could drink a lot and not be completely all over the place. Whereas, if I drank 10 pints of something that was 8%, I would have been all over the place. So, I've always been a lightweight, and I still am. Good, which is cool. But way out, man. Way out, man. Yeah, everything's way out in London, Hackies.
How was that gig that you went to last week?
So the gig, the gig was great. I mean, talking of hanging around a record shop. So as I said on here, I worked in a record shop for 3 years, 79 to 82, in the middle of sort of the punk thing, but lots of other things as well. But and I worked there. I met a friend of mine called Gerard, and he and I have been friends ever since. So we've been friends for 40 years. That's quite scary. He's a new friend. But he had a band. He'd always done. He's sort of written poetry and done sort of talky type songs. But so he got together with a guitar player, and they did kind of that. I don't know if this means anything. It was kind of John Martin Echo sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit like an early version of Ed Sheeran, really. So you've got that sort of echoplex stuff. And he would do his lyrics over Jonjo playing this guitar. And then he had a band called The Art Objects for a bit until about 1981, something like that. And then he formed the Blue Aeroplanes. And their Blue Aeroplanes has been going since 1981, And in fact, I half financed their first album.
You record mogul.
Oh yeah, that's me. I think we got 1,000. We pressed 1,000 copies of it. But what was interesting was I went through the whole process. The process of recording, and I did, because my dad had a studio. I did some of the recording on his 8-track. So if you ever see a copy of a album called Bop Art, then some of the things on there are recorded by me, which is quite exciting. So I did 2 or 3 tracks, I think, on it. But so we had this album. We recorded it all in studios around Bristol and a bit in my dad's studio and stuff like that. And then we took it to, we took it to no less a place than, I don't know if this means anything to you, Porcupine Cuts. Does that mean anything to you? It was a place in London. The guy, I can't remember his name. He was George something or other. But he basically cut your album, made an acetate out of it so that you could press records off it. So we went to London and had it cut. So you play the tape, and the tape would be translated into a kind of reverse groove on a vinyl platter, and then obviously the records would be pressed off it. But he was famous. I'm going to look this guy up because he was famous because he would write in the middle of the record and the sign-off groove. He would write Porcupine Cuts. He'd scratch it in, and he's called George Peckham, George Porky Peckham, and he's an English record engineer. So he had a place in London so we went there. We had and he would write a Porcupine Cut, and I think on Bop Art it says Porcupine Cut on it. But so we went there, got that cut, and then we because this is punk days, that then we sent it off to a place in France, with the designs for the album cover, and we got our 1,000 albums back, which I think cost us. I think it must have cost. I think it was like £1 an album to produce with a, to. Shall I go and get it? I'll go and get it. Hold on a sec. I'll just go and find it. Hold on. Keep talking.
Okay, so I don't know who's in the chat, but yeah. So I just want to touch base with you and say thanks, guys, for watching Simon and I and Carl for the year. I can't believe actually that we're at the end of the year. Looking forward to a break. I don't know if you guys know, but it's our summer over here, so we always have a big break. I think you guys in North America have about a 3 or 4 day break around Christmas, but here in New Zealand, most people have 3 or 4 weeks off. Schools are off for about 4, 5, 6 weeks, depending on what age you are. So it's always a good time to catch up with family and friends, eat, drink, play some music. Got a couple of gigs to go to, so I'm always looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right.
And here's Simon. All right. Someone's going to show us what he's got.
Right, here we go. So this is the album that we made. One of the original copies of it.
Wow.
As you can see, it's got 3 colours. I think probably 3 colours. If I turn it round on the back, where are we? I can't get. You can see my name at the bottom there. Does it say Simon? So I can't hold. I can't see it now. Yeah, it says, and there, Simon.
Okay, so hold it up again, Simon, to your camera, please. Oh, yeah.
See, Simon, You see down here, see it says W?
Yes.
Well, the W should have been up there, so it should say Simon W, but it doesn't. And Niebieski Samoloty is the Polish for blue aeroplanes. And that's where the name came from, because the dancer, they have a dancer called Wojciech Machowski, who's obviously Polish, and his brother had it written somewhere on something, and Gerard saw it and thought that would be fun. So yeah, you can see that here. If I get it close, see it says engineered by Simon Williams. Some of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Edward Williams' studio. That's my dad. Sound Studios, Owen Studio. Yeah, so really cool. Really cool. Lot of fun. As I say, we look, I've got so we did this and we did. What else have I got in here? Got bits. Obviously, I haven't done this one. I've got it on CD as well. But yeah. Oh look, it's got a lyric sheet.
Oh wow, which was really important.
Really hand printed lyric sheet. Now, look, it's going to have a Xeroxed or something. We obviously did it and inserted it in. There's a picture of me on there, but yeah. So basically, we started off. We did this. And we sold them. We sold all the 1,000 copies. Got my money back in fairly short order. I think it
wow.
Had some because in those days you were doing a do it yourself record kind of thing. You send it to John Peel and stuff like that, and he would play it. I think he probably played a bit of it. Let's see, I'm just going to see if I can see if it says. I need some more light. I'll turn the lights off. Central bits. I'm going to see if I could see if it's got porcupine cuts on it somewhere. Maybe this side. Yeah, there, isn't it? I could show you. You're not going to be able to see it. I don't think it's not. But yeah, it does say porcupine cuts on the run out bit here.
Wow.
But as I say, in the days that when you did things by yourself and stuff like that, we did it ourselves and we sent it out and messed about and sold it through. Oh, we sold it through sort of Rough Trade. I don't know if Rough Trade means anything to you. Rough Trade was a record label in London that had the Smiths on it. The Smiths were on Rough Trade when they started. lots of other bands as well. But they also had a sort of a network of independent record shops. So you could send it to Rough Trade, and then they would send it out to a network of around the country of independent record shops. Wow. So you could get this out to the country really easily by just doing a little deal with Rough Trade, and they were in the same boat. They were doing a cottage industry type of thing to send them out. So I think we sent it out through that. Amazing. Yeah, I told you it wasn't Rough Trade. It's for the Cartel, which is a similar thing. You could send it out via the Cartel around the country and do it. But this is one of the first 1,000 we made, or 500 we made, or whatever. But yeah. So, and I've known Gerald for that long, and always really liked what he did. It's a bit more left field. It's kind of poetry rock, I suppose, is a phrase you could use about it. But
has he been playing since constantly?
Yeah.
Since that album, it's just been a continuation.
It's been a continuation. Yeah, they've made
Wow.
They probably made more than a dozen albums. Let's have a look.
Great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they sort of, as I said, my biggest my best experience of one of my best experiences in rock has been they supported REM in 1989, I think, on their Green tour. They did a world tour, supporting the Green album, and and so they played at 10,000-12,000 seater arenas. They played at the NEC in Birmingham, which must be that sort of 8,000-10,000 seater arena. And my friend at Blue Airplane supported them. So I have one of the best things I did. I was on the door at the NEC. I mean, I don't know what the equivalent is in Hamilton. You've got if you've got a kind of 8,000 to 10,000 seater, it's like Wembley Arena kind of thing, that kind of, or the O2. So I'm on the door at the NEC, and you go up to this, separate box office, and you have this beautifully printed out. It's like Simon Williams on it, and inside of your badge, your laminates and your backstage laminate and your tickets for your seats and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, look at me, go me! my one shot at start.
Did you meet REM? Any of the members from REM? Michael Stipe?
I met. Yeah, Michael Stipe only briefly. He's quite, he's a bit of a separate character, and that's fine, But the others were, met the others and kind of, hung out with them. The Blue Emperors, ever since then, then and going forward, they have a number. It's a song called "Breaking in My Heart," and basically it's a Tom Verlaine song. Do you know who Tom Verlaine is?
There's a famous band in New Zealand called the Verlaines, named after Tom Verlaine. So, yeah.
Is there? Well, that'll teach me. So, Tom Verlaine from television. So, one of his solo albums, he had a song called "Breaking in My Heart," which is basically two chords. I'll show you. I can play it because I have done. It basically goes.
So what are the chords? D and G.
A and D. A and D.
A and D.
A D.
Great.
So you do that. Now, obviously, that means that with minimum learning supervision, you can get all manner of people to play on it. So they used to have this thing where every night at the NEC they did it, the REM played with them on it. They all came in kind of hats and stuff. But so you'd have, I don't know, say 8 guitarists playing it. Well, it's like amazing because the Aeroplanes have always had, pretty much had 3 guitar players. So, any band that has 3 guitar players is a rock and roll band. Let's, they just are. And
so did you jump up?
Not on the NEC.
When you went to the gig recently, did they ask you to jump up?
No, they didn't. No, and a couple of other people. No. I mean, I'll stand at the back now and behave myself. But I mean, then because I did, because I was young and so I'm sure I've told this story before. So I used to do a bit of driving for them and stuff, and drive and and do the gear and help them get the gear on and off the stage and stuff like that, because I was working in a record shop, and stuff like that. So you could, and I was involved. So I used to do, sort of stuff like that. One time we played a gig with in London. We played a gig with Primal Scream.
Oh wow!
The
little guy.
Bobby Gillespie.
He was in that famous band, that Psycho Candy. What were they called? The Jesus and Mary Chain.
The Jesus and Mary Chain. Yeah, I saw them. Yeah. I saw them at the North London Polytechnic. Their famous gig, North London Polytechnic.
I love the Jesus and Mary Chain.
But great band. But Psycho Candy is a great record. But so they offered me a job.
What, to be their minder?
Yeah, well, no, to be their roadie, because I was obviously hefting a 412.
But they put 8 size 8.
With size 8 feet, falling over a lot of things. No, you don't want to employ him; he falls over too much. But because they saw me hefting, I think a 412 cab around like it was and
we need him.
Is he a photo? So I was like, not really. so I politely declined. That's not really where I was going, but.
What do you pay you? £10 and 2 pints.
Yeah, well, yeah, and move to Brighton or wherever wherever it was all happening. But it's funny that those things happened, but funny in a good way. It's and I. Yeah, all those mad things we used to do. So we used to play around quite a lot, play in London and things, and playing pubs and clubs, and when there were all these things were available, you turn up playing, and usually pretty well attended. We got good, good audiences and stuff like that, and very kind of, a lot of good press and things like that. So we'd appear regularly in the Melody Maker and the NME and things like that, and it was fantastic fun. Then I went to university and stuff, so I kind of did less than obviously than I'd done then, because I was at university doing stuff. So but they got bigger. You see, by the end of the 80s, they had an album out called Swagger that was on Chrysalis. They recorded their follow-up album to that, Beat Songs, was recorded by Gil Norton. No, actually, Swagger was recorded by Gil Norton, who did the Pixies. Yep. He's a producer engineer. So they nearly got big, if you like. And they must have sold. Probably sold more. Only 2 Bristol bands would have sold more records than them, Portishead and Massive Attack. In fact, the guitar player on those records, Angelo Brasini, he plays in Massive Attack. He's the guitar player for Massive Attack.
Oh, Massive Attack would have sold millions of records, Simon.
Yeah. But
they were huge here in New Zealand. Massive Attack and Portishead. They were big bands.
Yeah.
Really
so
popular.
Swagger came out in '89. It was on Ensign Chrysalis Records. So it was a big record company stuff. Before that, we're on a local London thing called Fire. But they did 2 songs for on Chrysalis, 2 albums on Beat Songs and Swagger, and then they had Beggar's Banquet. They were on for a couple and stuff, and then they've been doing it since then. And they've been doing it themselves. Oh, they had an album out on Harvest. In fact, 2 albums out on Harvest, I think. But so they've been around for a long time doing it. Gerard's been very experienced musician and performer now, and he currently works at something called BIM, which is I can't remember. I can never remember. It's like a music college. Yeah.
Oh, great.
You can get a degree in music. So it's been going for a long time, BIM. But he's head of songwriting at Bristol BIM. but in the meantime, we still, he still carries on the aeroplanes, and so they still carry on recording. He's probably got a new album coming out this year, or next year. We're at the end of this year, Simon. So, and they always do. Sorry, this is a very long explanation. But they always do. They own a pub in Bristol, a music pub, quite a big one. It has about 500, capacity 500. So it's got a big pub. It's called the Fleece and Firkin, or just the Fleece. In Bristol, and the Fleece has been a music pub for a long time. 20, 30 years kind of thing. And for I can't remember why, but about 6 or 7 years ago, the aeroplanes acquired it. So they own their own venue.
Oh, wow.
So they own the Fleece, and the bass player Chris runs it. So they have a lot. I went to see the Brothers Landreth there. So that's the kind of quality of acts they get there. And but every year they have a Christmas gig. The aeroplanes do a Christmas gig. For just a jolly, make a few quid for Christmas. Why not? And it's always sold out. It's always sold out weeks in advance and stuff. And
wow! So they have a guest band.
They did have a support band. The support band they were like, how can I describe them? They were like a 3-piece, so guitar, bass, and drums, instrumental, really heavy.
Oh wow!
What I did was really heavy. That heavy kind of bass chords are heavy, and stuff. And they were quite a difference to the aeroplanes. It has to be said.
Didn't go down too well with some of the.
No, they went down all right actually. It's not really. It's not really my. It's not really my thing. It has to be said.
Sure. And that's
not
okay.
really. But no, it's fine. They were fine. They were quite jolly and stuff. So I have no objections at all. I don't think I'd be rushing out to buy their record anytime soon. But yeah, so they did 45 minutes, and then the aeroplanes did what they do, which is 3 guitar players, bass, drums, dancer, vocalist, and they played a kind of, and they did a couple of new ones. Gerard always does some new stuff at the beginning, and they did a kind of mixture of things, which is really cool. It was really great. I really enjoyed it. Because it's like because I've been a fan of theirs for years. I've been involved for a bit, but all the more obscure stuff, and that's really nice. That when they play something that's a bit more obscure, offside 2 of the album or something, and they did that. I love that sort of thing because it's great.
A deep cut.
So a deep cut, that's the phrase I'm looking for, deep cut. So they were, very, really good. Really enjoyed it. The sound was really good, And interestingly, these days, it wasn't too loud, which in the past, 5 or 6 years ago, it would have been a lot louder than it was. And also, and this is a dichotomy for music venues. The Fleece has been there for a long time. It's been 25 years, 30 years, doing live bands. Now, what's happened is around it used to be all offices and stuff like that, so there wasn't any problem. Now, it's a lot of it being converted into inner city apartments.
Oh wow!
And obviously, people are living there. Now, and then you have a clash between live music noise from a pub and people trying to live there, so there's this kind of pressure on to make them sort of calm it down a bit and stuff like that. So they finished at 10:30.
Yeah, well, they have the same situation here in New Zealand too, Simon. And Hamilton here, and Auckland and Wellington. Venues that were live acts for years, all of a sudden now, they've got across the road, which used to be an office block, now is 10 apartments.
Apartments, and inner city apartments, so there was some money and stuff like that. And so there's a clash there, but and people say, well, if you live near a music pub, quite a well-known music pub, the Fleece is, then. But there's always kind of noise. People complain about the noise and stuff like that, so it's difficult. So I think they have a kind of 10:30 curfew there now, which I have to say, if you're going to a gig on a Sunday night, not a bad idea. I quite like that. home by 11, looking at the inside of your eyelids, as a sort of normal night. But in the past they used to go on at like 10 o'clock and play till 10:30, kind of thing. But it's earlier now. Yeah.
It's interesting that you should talk about the volume of the bands, or the band. I caught up with a couple of guys yesterday at a local music shop. I was having a bit of a look at a few things, and in Hamilton there was a fairly successful band called the Politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, lead singer I hadn't seen for about 10 years, and we're having a chat, and we're naturally talking about technology, how things have changed over the years. And he said exactly the same thing that you said. He said that they've got good PAs now, and so they don't play at the volume that they used to play, and that's got nothing to do with the crowd or anything like that. They can focus the sound a little bit more, but it's got everything to do with Tim singing. Tim can't sing like he used to 30 years ago or 20 years ago. So the band has to focus down a bit to obviously to accommodate for your voice. Never thought about it that way, Simon, but always interesting to get feedback from guys in proper bands.
And I think that, and I have to say, I think that you're right. The improvement in sound and PA, just taking the volume down a bit actually is not to the detriment of the song. Where
Right.
I mean, I've been in the Fleece 5 or 6 years ago, and the bass was so, you think to yourself, well, if I was mixing it, I wouldn't have the bass. It was like really literally shaking the foundations and stuff. And your ears are going, and they still give out. You can go to the bar and get earplugs. They give them out behind the bar, free, which is good. But they dropped it down a level. Now you can still hear all the instruments, and it's about the elusive thing that we're all chasing, which is about tone.
Sure.
It's not about, once you get past a certain volume, it's about tone.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure you have this, that, I mean, if I put my PV Delta Blues on about 4, remembering, Hack's going to bed. Good night, Hack. Take care, mate. Thanks for dropping in. It's very kind.
Good night, Hack.
Have a
Thank
good
you
sleep.
for jumping in. Enjoy your channel, brother.
We look forward to your post-gig show when you've woken up again. Arvin, there is still a pretty good music scene in Bristol these days. There's still a lot of bands playing because there's more than one music college in Bristol. That not all of them. There's a lot of DJ stuff and other stuff, but still. I mean, I went to a BIM thing with Gerard recently, 6 months ago, a sort of showcase night, of which there were 20 bands playing. Everyone got to play one song. There's a certain amount of, some musicians are in more than one band, but got up, played one song, get off, and the next band gets on. Using sort of similar backlines. You just got your pedal board on, and so there are lots of bands, and and in a sense, it's a bit like the late 70s, early 80s. Lots of indie bands and stuff like that. And the thing about BIM is, learning to do it yourself. I mean, we did, when we produced Bop Art, when we produced this, Sins or whatever, we did exactly what, I don't know, Rob Chapman is doing with Dorje. Let's say he's a big YouTuber, or Rabia Masad is doing with Tosca. We're doing, they get them delivered to their houses, they pack them up themselves and send them out with their mates, in envelopes and things. That's exactly what they're doing. It's a cottage industry, in exactly the same way as we were doing cottage industry in 1979, 1980 kind of thing. So I think that, Bristol is a university town. It's got a sort of what I would call I'll explain this, a tier 2 university. Bristol University is a tier 2 university. If you think tier 1 is Oxford and Cambridge, tier 2 is Bristol, Durham, where else? Maybe a couple of other ones. But, if you're not going to Oxford or Cambridge, but you're going to Bristol, you're still doing all right on the table of universities to go to. So Bristol is a very big, has two universities. It has the old University of Bristol, and it has something called the University of the West of England as well, which used to be the Polytechnic, of course. So, yes, very student, very lot of students around in Bristol. It's a cool city.
We had a similar situation here in New Zealand, Simon, with a label called Flying Nun that supported a lot of the independent bands that were mainly from Dunedin. So here in New Zealand, we've got this term called the Dunedin sound. So in the late 1980s, you had a lot of independent bands, and like the Bats, for example. You would have heard of a song called "I Love My Leather Jacket" by it'll come to me. They were pretty big in the UK there for a while in an independent band, but it's similar to what you did. A lot of these bands were marketing, producing their own records, but Flying Nun was the album company or the record company that was distributing the records. So we've had that same similar situation here in New Zealand, following that British tradition. A lot of the music, though, was never heavy, was never rock and roll. It was always, pump and slide.
It's like interestingly, I'm just reading about it now. It's the Velvet Underground and the Stooges, and stuff, and the Beatles and the Byrds and things. So there's a kind of 60s jangly influence in there, kind of thing. Yeah. Interestingly, the band I didn't recognise is the Chills. I recognise the Chills. Yeah, Gerard would have introduced me to the Chills. So and the Verlaines. Yeah,
but they were really. So what we would do as young guys, we'd go and watch the Verlaines or the Chills. We'd sneak into the pub. Would be 17 or 18. Go and watch them because they were live, Simon. We weren't necessarily buying their records. We didn't know any of their songs, Simon, but we just went there because that's where people were going.
Yeah.
We don't have that. We don't have that anymore.
No, has it sort of gone away now? Though, sort of. You see, we didn't have it in Bristol, but there was the American counterpart to that was the Dream Syndicate, Green on Red. What's that? What's the Long Riders? What's the band that had Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man? I can't remember. It'll come to me. But very much. Yeah, so we had a kind of parallel movement that came from America that was quite big here. I think the Paisley Underground with those bands in it, Dream Syndicate and Days of Wine and Roses. It's a great record, but very guitar orientated records. And kind of with psychedelic overtones. Kind of reasonably. Sometimes they do reasonably long guitar solos and that sort of thing. But influenced by the Byrds and by Buffalo Springfield and by. To some extent, the Flying Burrito Brothers as well. Green on Red had a sort of country element to them. But I liked all of that stuff. That's where I was in the kind of the 80s, in a sense. It's sort of not the kind of the heavy rock stuff, so much really. But that's interesting. Yeah, that makes that. I can see the parallels, and it makes sense. The Dunedin sound. Yes, that's very cool. Yeah. So was it good? Did you enjoy that stuff, or was it not really your thing?
Well, I always liked live music, Simon. So we would have here in Hamilton, we've got a lake, so they'd have the local radio station would have a rock concert at the lake. So
right,
you'd have bands, a couple of metal bands that and you'd have the accessories come along, or the Bats would come along, and it was just the fact that it was live music.
It was live music.
I always supported New Zealand music. So while I was listening to the Stones and the Beatles, on one hand, I was also influenced by a guy called Paul McKesser, who I went to school with, who went on to work for Flying Nun. But he was writing reviews for albums when he was 14, 15, and sending them in to rip it up. And it's a little bit like that Cameron Crowe thing, you know, Almost Famous, you know. And they would publish, you know, a review on you know, an album, and you know, come and show it. You know, look,
wow, yeah. You're not still in contact with him, are you?
No, but you never got paid. You never got paid for it. It was you know, I've been printed, but he was very good. His dad, he knew English very well. He knew the right words to describe things, and he was always gifted. You know, he was a gifted kind of guy. So the fact that he went on to work for Flying Nun after university was no surprise. But
that's really cool. Yeah,
I love the Chills and the Helicopters. Like, I went and checked them out on YouTube there, you know. So it's that similar vein. It's very, what's the word? Very artistic, very, very, very focused.
Yeah. Had a kind of distinctly kind of art edge to it.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah. That's fantastic. I think that's really cool, you know, and sounds you know, quite similar to you know, to what we were doing in the UK in the 80s in a funny kind of way. We didn't really have. I suppose we did a bit where there were bands around, like the Aeroplanes were a bit of that because they were a guitar band, and they had a sort of certain jangle to them and stuff, which is kind of, you know, some of it could be described as, you know, so have some Byrds influence and things, and but they also had English folk, Dylan, all sorts of stuff involved in it. But you know, interestingly, not in Bristol, not where we obviously had a sort of indie. We had quite a big indie scene. You know, lots of good indie bands. Not really much, not heavy metal really. Bristol's not a heavy metal city. You know, had no really heavy rock bands. I think had some kind of punk bands. You know, because it had a friend of mine called Simon Edwards he set up a label in about 1978, you know, called Heartbeat Records, and but the Aeroplanes they released their first single on Heartbeat Records. Actually, the artist, but he also branched out and he had quite a sort of hard punk bands as well. I don't know if these band names. Do you remember a band? What were they called? Like the Cockney Rejects. Do you remember them?
No.
It got a bit. No. Not as a Buzzcock. Kind of sort of heavy. You know,
really?
Heavy. Yeah, but also attracted a sort of right wing element to them as well. So we had a movement called Oi. You can look it up. Yeah, Oi. If you look up Oi, the Oi movement. Well, Simon's
always here.
Yeah, so, you know, sort of Mohicans and kind of leather jackets and kind of you know, and that kind of punk thing, but a bit more kind of right wing than the Clash, let's say, stuff like that, and a bit heavier as well. So we had that a bit. That went on a bit in Bristol, but as I say, I mean, the Aeroplanes, you know, were one of the biggest Bristol bands, you know, prior to you know, Massive Attack and Portishead doing their kind of trip hop stuff. You know, but it was but it's always been an exciting, you know, we could always have, there was also a sort of, in the late 70s as well, that there was also a kind of a thriving pub rock scene that played a lot of blues and stuff like that, you know. So there were quite a lot of bands that had a kind of, they were like Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
If Dr. Feelgood's familiar to you, so I'm sure they are. You know, Wilco Johnson, all of that. So we had bands, you know, all the club, you could go and see a good blues. You can go and see a good R&B band, you know, like the Dr. Feelgood. Yeah, one of them was called Juan Foot in the Grave, which is, and you know, and they would lean about, and do that kind of, I suppose in those days, a kind of neo Blues Brothers type thing.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, it was great fun. They were great fun, and you know, there were lots of, but you know, there used to be God, you reminded me now. One of the things that we had. Not for very long, but I think maybe somebody, I can't remember who it was now, I'll have to go look, made something called the Bristol Recorder, which was basically, it was a magazine with an album with it. So they recorded, you know, some local Bristol bands, and then they had a kind of magazine bit about it as well. put it together, and so it was like an LP. I don't know if I've got one. It was like an LP size thing like this. I had a sort of like a magazine-y type thing, and it had some local band stuff on it as well. Which was amazing. To Garth Brooks rules. Jason's going mad. It's 2:40. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. There, he's lost it. Garth Brooks rules. Certainly in America, he did. Jason.
I'm not going to laugh too much about country music, because we here in Hamilton, that was another big scene too. The country music club was big. Yeah. So we had a blues club here in Hamilton, which was obviously still going, very big. And obviously the country club. But the good thing about those clubs, Simon, and that whole environment is that it gave people an opportunity to get up and play live. So if you weren't going to go to a pub, you were going to go to a hall somewhere. So they'd book out a hall, you'd go along, and you watch a band. Yeah. I went and watched a couple of friends in country bands, and it was, it was always good. You'd go and have a few beers, and it was always great, Not my scene.
I'm not a huge country fan. I mean, I've got some flying burrito brothers stuff, and some other country green on red and things like that. Some other country. But I've never done the particularly attracted to the Garth Brooks kind of that mainstream big, Brad Paisley. Not really that. I don't really know much about it, to be honest.
Very interesting though about how New Zealand parallels the UK as far as music brings. I remember going to school with a couple of guys that were into the Exploited, and they were punks, and they were obviously heavily influenced by either older brothers or sisters or parents. And then within 2 years, I remember this guy that I was hanging out with, he was quite nerdy, he was a surfer, and then all of a sudden came back after the holidays, and he had short hair, and he was wearing Doc Martens with his Levi's rolled up, and he had suspender belts on, and he was a oi boy, and he was walking around, and he was looking for trouble. He was a bother boy, He wanted to find out who the Maoris were and beat up some people because they were brown. And I'm going, what happened? What?
Yeah. Got him in the wrong crowd there by some distance, yeah.
But it was that oi, though. But that oi movement that was...
Yeah, we had a right-wing element to it, didn't it? It had a kind of nationalist element to it. Yeah.
But who were the oi bands? Who were they listening to? I don't know.
Well, the Exploited, for one. Let's hold on.
The Exploited were anarchists, though, weren't they?
Well, sort of, but they were in that oi bands thing. So the Cockney Rejects, the Foreskins, the Sham 69, the Angelic Upstarts, the Exploited.
Oh, okay.
So no doubt, and they did have that kind of right wing sort of element to them, which is interesting. Yeah, that they sort of like a subgenre of punk, really. Yeah, but those were the main ones. Really, the Cockney Rejects.
Members were they part of the Members? That was a band. Were they part of?
Not really. The members were more like power pop.
Stiff little fingers.
Stiff Little Fingers. No, they never. See, Stiff Little Fingers didn't do the oi thing. They were a punk band, but they didn't do the oi thing because they were, they did anti, what's it, Alternative Ulster and Suspect Device and stuff like that. What kind of protest songs, really? Irish protest songs. Great, But they're not involved in the oi movement. Pleased to know. So because they never had that kind of UK subs, were another band as well. But and to some extent Sham 69 as well. They got dragged into that, although I don't think Jimmy Percy, but he didn't really want to do that. But they got so Jason Wade on topic is saying, so what song by Peter Green is as good as I Need Your Love So Bad?
I Need Your Love So Bad.
One of the Peter Green said, well, I agree, Arvin. Albatross is pretty good. Oh well,
Something Inside of Me.
Green Man Elise. If you want the
Woman I Love. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What else is there? The Green Manalishi.
Green Manalishi, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
World in Harmony.
I mean, they did good versions of things like what's the album with the penguin on it is the kind of bluesy one. It's got Dust My Broom on it as well and stuff.
Yeah. It's just there's shitloads of just
straightforward blues stuff. They are.
Yeah, lots of it.
Yeah. Arvin says that he likes the old style country stuff, the stuff with the guys who look like ex-cons.
Yeah,
you're partial bit of Hank Williams or Johnny Cash, Arvin. Yeah. Nothing wrong with those guys either. It's you can see where they sit. You can see how it. In the pantheon of music. Anybody who can make a living. Doing music, writing their own stuff. Deserves respect. You may not like it, but if you can make a. If you could make a record, do your own stuff, do your own song, write your own lyrics, record it, and make a hit out of it. I mean, hats off to you. Even stuff I don't like, and there's only, they are.
Just
Jason,
check that.
Get your teeth into that, Jason.
That's on Spotify if you haven't checked it out. So that's a release that came out about a month ago. It's been remastered. And it's all live. It's phenomenal. Check it out.
Oh, Jason, I see. Jason said he would die if he had the chance to meet him before he passed.
Yeah.
Better get on with it. He's not a young man.
No.
You have to come to England, Jason.
Yeah.
Travel.
He doesn't travel. He doesn't travel anymore, does he, Peter? I think.
No.
No.
I mean, I guess he's in quite a delicate mental state, isn't he, Peter? Kind of. Lives quietly.
Well,
does
he was
his
doing
thing.
a bit of stuff with the Splinter Group, wasn't he, for a while?
He plays a bit, doesn't he? Every now and then he comes out and plays and stuff. Does some things. It's yes, but I think that that. Yeah. Sadly, he's not going to be doing. Oh, interestingly, let's see if he's got any. Last concert over 5 years ago. Okay. So he hasn't done doesn't look as though he's had a up and come. He's got no 2019 concerts, but yeah. So he hasn't played a gig since 2014. Was his last. Played with the 10p mixes at the Clothes Shop in Sheffield.
Yeah, Arvin's asking, are their blues covers any good? Well, they do. There's a couple of versions of Fleetwood Mac's Arvin. There's the version of Fleetwood Mac with Jeremy Spencer doing a lot of the slide stuff, and he's doing Dust My Broom and a couple of the Elmore James covers. And then you've
yeah.
And then you've got Peter Green and Danny Kerwin, doing the twin guitar stuff, doing a couple of covers like Homework, for example, which is a phenomenal cover. Who was the guy that originally did Homework, Simon? Do you know?
Homework? No, I don't.
Okay, some black guy. It'll come to me, but they're pretty good.
Look it up. Oh well, yeah. I mean, you've got Black Magic Woman, of course, which is they wrote. They got Shake Your Money Maker, which is a Downward James song. You've got Searching for Madge, Stop Messing Around, Need Your Love So Bad.
Searching for Madge is on their last album that they did before Peter left, which is not bad. There's a couple of versions of Searching for Madge, very good. Again, that twin guitar stuff that's going on with Danny Kerwin, phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah. Penguin, no, it is called Penguin. What's that called? Yes. God. So it's not. So I think, yeah. I mean, the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac is really a blues band, isn't it? Andrew,
yeah.
You would say that, wouldn't you? That basically they're a blues band with a bit of with a bit of added spice in them, like Green Manalishi and stuff like that. And but basically they are a blues band, and then later they turned out not to be a blues band, but that version of them, you could say
all the albums that they did with Peter Green, Simon's right, they are a blues band, British blues, and then when Peter left, they sort of they did Kiln House, which is with Christine McVie, and that's not bad, that's sort of in that vein of the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac. And then
they had Bob Welsh, didn't they? Bob Welsh.
Yeah. He did a pretty good job. I don't mind the album. I listened to it, but
it's not really a blues album, is it? Not in the same way. No, that's right. They are sort of Chicago blues.
There's a couple of good live albums, like Shrine 69, which is on Spotify. You should check that out. That's pretty good. And also they did an album in America called Live. What is it, Simon? I'm here on Spotify.
Yes, is it Live in Boston or something?
Live in Boston, which is phenomenal, which is not bad. But this is the album Then Play On. That's the one. That's the last one that they did with Peter Green.
Peter Green, Then Play On.
And Danny Kirwan, which was supposed to be the one that was going to break them, get them into America. But Pete walked out because of his issues.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's plenty in all of that. Yeah, Jason said he's downloaded the Before Fleetwood Mac on Apple Music. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Blues Jam. Yeah, the Blues Jam in Chicago. Yeah, that's phenomenal too. That's 2 volumes. 2 volumes on CD. I think it might even be 3 volumes on Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, but different. We've done lots of stuff. If you want to look back on, we've done lots of stuff on Peter Green and stuff, and Fleetwood Mac, I think, haven't we? And we've done shows on them.
Well, tomorrow we're doing a show with Carl on Stevie Ray Vaughan.
The mighty Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah.
About this time, so
which is kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan is kind of. I've sort of missed out on Stevie Ray Vaughan a bit. I don't know a huge amount about him. Although we used to do Houses Are Rocking in my old band.
House is Rocking.
Don't bother knocking. Which is good fun. But other than that, obviously I know Pride and Joy and stuff, and but not really. I couldn't say I was particularly even a fan of his. Just it's one of those things because he didn't arrive. As I say, in the 80s, he arrived in the 80s. I was off doing something else in the 80s, like university and gone down the sort of the REM, that Paisley Underground sort of route. Do I think Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac would have been bigger than Zeppelin if they'd stayed together?
Different bands.
Different bands, yeah. I mean, although some kind of similarities in different roads, but in taking the blues, and then expanding it out. Because I think you could say Peter Green did that, didn't he? I mean, from the Dust My Broom era, Need Your Love, to Oh Well and the Green Manalishi. There's a progression going on in all of that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that so that they're progressing, they're creatively, and I think Led Zeppelin did the same, not in the same, in a way, because they introduced a kind of English folk thing into themselves. So I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think they would have been as big as Led Zeppelin.
Popular,
I think popular. Yeah.
That would have been like maybe a Free or something like that, or
Jethro Tull.
Or a Faces or something, bubbling under. But we all know, Led Zeppelin, when they hit, they were phenomenal. They were a tornado. They were a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. It's talking of that, I was watching. There was a thing about, and I didn't watch it all because I went to bed. But there was a thing last night about Rod Stewart on the telly on BBC, if you want to, and him and Ron Wood. Bloody sitting in these two gold chairs talking to Alan. Yeah, that's funny. But they were talking about truth, about the Jeff Beck group and stuff, And Rod says, that Peter Grant and Jimmy Page would turn up at their gigs, and then next gig they did, Robert Plant would be there as well, and and he said they definitely, took that and that template and sort of made it their own. Yeah. Good morning, Kubrick Lover, 1972. How you doing? Nice for you to drop in. That's cool. So, Jason Wade says, Andrew, what's your favourite Clapton song?
Yeah, look, Jason, I can't answer that. I don't have a favourite Clapton. It might be Crossroads, it might be Pretending, or it might be Little Queenie. Yeah, I don't know.
Today, your favourite Clapton song will be, but tomorrow it'll be different.
Yeah. It's very hard to. Do you have one, Jason?
Jason just asked me what my favourite Barry Manilow song is.
Please don't say Mandy. Please don't say Mandy.
Okay, wait. At the Copacabana. What's the Copacabana?
Laughter is always at the
Copacabana. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. So Kubrick Lover says he's not really a fan of Clapton.
That's fine.
Kubrick Lover, you don't have to be sorry. It's not. It's music is all about personal taste, and I'm not really a Van Halen fan, but I can admire them, but they're not really my thing. But I hope that's fine. I'm not going. I'll go back to my statement I made 5 minutes ago. I don't like them particularly. It's not really my thing, but they're a band. They made some amazing original rock music. Eddie Van Halen is an amazing guitar player. Took the guitar to another level. I think. And yes, Heresy. I know, burnt at the stake but and they did all their own stuff. Did a lot of their own stuff. Wrote their own songs. Wouldn't we all like to do that? Yes, we would. So I have no. Yes, how dare I? Yes, I know. Yes, I'm being taken out now and burnt at the stake for heresy. I think but so what? It's as long all the guys I've met through this are all really, really nice, really cool stuff like that. I don't feel it's that's too heretical thing to say. I don't have to be.
I just want to echo what Jason Wade's saying. That Hyde Park gig's pretty good. The whole gig's pretty good. He's playing his Cherry Red ES355, doing a few songs off
Clapton,
off that From the Cradle. Yeah, it's phenomenal. But I just want to echo what Simon said. Kubrick, you don't have to be a Clapton fan. I know lots of guys who can't stand Clapton, and I get guys that say to me, that he's a rip-off merchant, that he's boring, that he's monotonous. Okay, that's fine.
It's fine, it's fortunately we live in the free world where you don't have to like things. You can just like them because you like them or not. So I think it's I hope we carry on a conversation, and people, and I like people who like what I don't like. I think that's cool. It's fine. You like what you like, and and that won't be necessarily the same as mine. Hopefully, we've got some overlap. That's always a good idea.
I've got friends that say that Clapton is only good up until Cream, and then after Cream, he sucks. And I go, really? And sometimes I think they do that to bait me, but I don't take the bite anymore. But I think all I say is to people when they say that, you know, that they listen to Clapton Up the Cream, I say, well, I think you're missing out on a whole lot more. That's all I say.
Yeah, you know, go and, you know, I agree entirely. You know that you know his development as an artist, as a musician, you know, and you may not like all the bits and stuff like that. You know, I'm not a great fan of the '80s stuff, but
Right.
you know, the later stuff, you know, the later bluesier things. Yeah, you know, you know what he does now, you know, and you know, I think he's, you know, also I don't know about you, but I'm also interested in people who are, in some ways, you know, have made themselves into, you know, they have a kind of, they have a, you know, the right character as well. You know, they do the right things. You know, like Clapton's Crossroads thing is about, you know, funding his, you know, his addiction clinic and stuff like that. You know, and I think, you know, giving something back. You know, and I admire that. You know, some kind of social conscience that your fame and your money hasn't completely removed you from, you know. Some kind of social conscience. I don't know. That's just me. You know, look at Jason likes it. Jason's Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Herb Alpert, the A of A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Lest we forget.
I think that's one of the interesting things, though, Simon and guys in the chat about the bands or the artists that we like. You know, if you read a little bit about them, like Clapton's biography, for example. Just is an eye-opener for me because, you know, he admits that he was difficult for a long time, you know, not only through his addictions, but just his state of mind, you know, the way that he was looking at people. And, you know, again, we've discussed it at length on many shows. He went out of his way to apologize to a lot of people, you know, to say sorry.
For a lot of things, you know. Yeah, you know.
For a lot of the things that he's done.
You know, and I feel that, you know, that should always be lauded because that, you know, these are only human traits. You know, we're all human, we're all imperfect, we're all, you know, we all have our, you know, bad bits, and you know, the bits are not so attractive and all that kind of stuff. And you know, and I think, you know, that he is a good example of that. You know, where he is now, where he's trying to, you know, give something back to something that he's interested in. He's not just sitting on his money, you know, smoking a big cigar and kind of, you know, he's saying, I'm going to set up this addiction clinic. I'm going to put money into it. I'm going to sell my guitars to fund it. You know, and I think that's, you know, that's to be applauded. Myself.
But like Lennon, we were talking about that last show, didn't we? You know, Lennon was on that same trip too towards the end. He realised, you know, he was trying to make amends with his wife over a couple of things that she said and did, you know, and maybe that would have extended to the other Beatles. Who knows? We don't know.
But yeah, so Kubrick lover. I love Miles Davis, John Coltrane. I have, you know, Kind of Blue. It's one of my favourite records of all time. You know, I don't know about a jazz, whether you're a jazz person or not. I love people like Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, you know. I've been a Miles Davis fan for a long time. I've got Bitches Brew.
Yeah, Bitches Brew. All those 80s jazz rock, you know, things. Yeah, I loved all of that. You know, I thought that was really exciting, and still do, and listen to that stuff. Yeah. You know, In a Silent Way and stuff like that. You know, from the 50s.
In a Silent Way, it's phenomenal.
Beautiful record. You know, beautiful. So yeah, I think like most people, you know, actually, you know that, you know, music likes to define. You know, we like to be put into, you know, music press or music likes to put you in a slot, doesn't it? And actually, we don't fit into that slot. You know, none of us. You know, we're like. Yes, I think we can show that to Kubrick Lover.
One of the best movies, Kubrick Lover, that I've ever seen, you being a music guy, is Bird, the one that was produced and directed by Clint Eastwood. Doing the it was a biography on
Charlie Parker.
Charlie Parker by who's the black guy, the famous black actor, does a phenomenal job.
Is it
Forrest Whitaker?
Yes, Forrest Whitaker. Yeah. So, you know, absolutely, Kubrick Lover. You know, I think, you know, most people don't are just not into one thing. You know, I'm just into country or just into, you know. I think people spread it, and they have albums that they like, and then they have albums they don't like, and they're in different genres, different things, in different places, if we, example, Johnny Bean, is really into Van Halen. He's also into the Police, and other, like that. So, I don't think any of us can be pigeonholed into, he's just a heavy metal bloke and stuff like that, especially when we get to our ages, I like reggae, I like, soul, R&B, 60s R&B, jazz, some rock, some, folk, all sorts of stuff I've got in my collection, and you're right, that's what makes life interesting, and it makes us interesting as people, is that, we're not one-dimensional people, we don't only just love, modern heavy metal or something like that, we like lots of things because we've grown up through lots of different eras with lots of different music and stuff like that. Some we like and some we don't. And I think that's what's cool about us. Actually,
and on
makes
that,
you a rounded human being.
And on that note, I'm going to say,
is it dinner time?
if you guys want to join us tomorrow night, Carl is going to be leading a chat on Stevie Ray Vaughan. So if you guys. Apparently, that's the plan. But it may change.
So far. Depends what Carl's real estate is going on. He's like, yes, thank you, Jason. Yes, I can count myself not a Backstreet Boys person. Unfortunately, I'm too old, Jason. Yeah. That's the good bit about it. But Kubrick lover, I agree. I love Prince as well. I mean, how can you fail to, I mean, I understand you might not like him, but, you understand the genius of the man.
Oh, that Little Red Corvette, that 1999 album when it came out was phenomenal.
Yeah, Sign of the Time. The Sign of the Times album is an astonishing record. Styles and, I love all that kind of varied styles and things like that, and all over the place things, that Sign of the Times. Then you've got The Cross, which is one of those sort of folky thing. Amazing, yeah. I love...
hot guitar player.
Amazing guitar player, amazing showman, one man band, played everything, just kept going creatively, maybe,
and Jason,
maybe not the
thank you for the shout out too, mate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Jason, thanks for joining in, mate. It's been such fun. It's been great fun. I like that video. What my favourite Barry Manilow record is.
Your video with all the people that support your channel. It's it was a nice surprise to see my name pop up, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, me too. Thank you very much. That's very kind. And so thanks to Arvin. Thanks, Arvin, and Kubrick Lover, and Jason, and the mighty Guitar Hack for popping by.
Oh,
and contributing and having a laugh. It's been really good fun, and I really enjoy it when you guys turn up, because it makes it a better show, enhances. So thank you very much for that, guys.
3 a.m. where Kubrick Lover is. Holy cow!
Yeah, see, stamina. Those Americans got stamina.
Yeah. No, Kubrick Lover, appreciate it. Arvin, you guys rock and roll. Like I said to you before, Carl and I and Simon will be here tomorrow. So if you guys want to jump in and listen to what Carl's got to say about Stevie Ray Vaughan,
I'll be getting up jolly early.
Okay.
Fantastic. All right, guys, take care.